Hello, Abraham. I've heard you say on several tapes, we don't live in an assertive world. We can bring everything to us by our thoughts.
There is no assertion.
How can I balance wanting to draw everything into my life without having to go into the doing or the being of whatever it is I do? I want to go create $1 million, but I don't want to go to work for it.
Well, your statement is really telling and really important, because what you're saying is, I want $1 million, and I believe that there are ways to get $1 million that I don't want to do. So what you're doing is saying, I want this, but I don't want this. And that's not a very powerful state of being, because you're setting contradiction up right away. So you soften that by saying, I want $1 million, and I want to find a way that is compatible with me to receive it.
Okay.
Now there's less resistance in that. You say, I want $1 million, and I know that there are a lot of people who have $1 million who got it in a way that would not be uncomfortable to me. But when you say, I want $1 million, but there's no one I'm going to inherit it from, or I want $1 million, but nobody that I know is going to die and leave it to me. In other words, you've got to stop the contradiction. When you talk about what you want and why you want it, there's usually less resistance within you than when you talk about what you want and how you're going to get it. Because when you pose questions that you don't have answers for, like how, where, when, who, then it sets up a contradiction vibration within you that slows everything down.
Okay.
Statements such as, there must surely be many people on this planet today who have $1 million and in excess of it, who at one time were standing right where I am, just wanting it and having no idea how it was going to come. Feel how resistance-free that statement is. Words like faith and trust are so annoying on some levels, but we want to explain to you the value of them, because even though you don't know how or where or when or who, if you know what, and you've talked about why you want it, and you've practiced the thought of it until it's starting to feel very familiar to you, what begins to happen is things that couldn't happen to you now begin happening, and ideas that wouldn't even occur to you now begin to occur to you, and rendezvous with people that you don't have access to now begin to happen. And when your $1 million and many more come to you, you will wonder where it always was.
It seems like the resistance is so subtle, it's like it's somewhere in the background of the drama you don't even recognize.
We wouldn't call it subtle. Well, maybe that's a good word for it, but we would use a more blunt word. And that is, I've practiced contradictory thoughts so long that they feel natural.
Okay.
And so when you start imagining having $1 million, and we're going to play here with you for just a little bit, but when you start imagining what that means, and we don't want you to just get $1 million and stop. You're going to want $1 million always at your disposal. You're going to want to spend that and have another on its heels, because we promise you, once you get used to millions of dollars moving through your experience, $1 million won't last you very long. Because you begin to live in a way and your property taxes go way up. So what is it that we are wanting you to trust in? The fact that you can be or do or have anything. How is it that we want you to approach it? Slowly and gently. We want you to be happy with where you are. You have to make peace with where you are. So you can't say, oh, my life is miserable and I have to do all of these things I don't want to do. And boy, if I had $1 million, then I wouldn't do any of these things. Because can you feel how jumbled the energy is? What you're saying is, universe, I'm miserable and unhappy where I stand. Please give me something that will make it better. And the universe says, sorry, we can only give you more things that will make you miserable, because that's the vibe you're offering. And you say, well, how do I offer something other? I want to be over there and I'm over here. And we say, well, talk about what's over there. And most people have a very difficult time talking about what's over there because they've been talking so long and hard with such detail about what's over here that that's what's active in their vibration. And that's why we're talking about these emotional journeys. You got to talk yourself into a different vibe, and then different things will come to you.
I was wondering if I was creating too big, if I was trying to make something too big, and the gap between what I wanted and where I am was too big, and that was causing some of the grief.
Well, surely $1 million is not too big from where you stand. That's just not too big.
It actually wasn't even $1 million. It's $150,000. The million was just something I made up.
You do have to follow the success principles that he's found. You gotta talk about what you want. You gotta tell it like you want it to be. You can't face reality and have reality change in any way. You've gotta face the parts of reality that you love and fill in the gaps with things that you get from your imagination or from your expectation. And before you know it, you see, so here you are and you've got a lot of good things in your life which you accentuate and talk about and appreciate and make lists of. So you make lists of positive aspects and you get on rampages of appreciation and you look for good wherever you see it and you feel good as much as you can. And then you have goals that you don't know how you're going to achieve. So then you fill those in with imagination and visualization and pretending. And then as you start doing that, you'll have a dream about it that makes it feel more real. Or you'll meet somebody that's really living that way. Or you'll turn on the television and somebody will be talking just like you've been imagining. Or you'll pick up a book, or you'll hear another interview. In other words, the universe will help you to rendezvous with whatever the vibration is that you've finally achieved. And little by little, you just work yourself in to where you've filled in the gaps that you're not now living with your vibration as you've used your imagination. The universe does not know the difference between someone who has $1 million and someone who just feels like they have $1 million. And when you feel like you have it, your vibration is such that law of attraction must line you up with things like that. And that's true whether you're talking about relationships, whether you're talking about building of empires, whether you're talking about attracting people to help you in your business. It doesn't matter what it is. You've got to find the vibration of it, and you've got to practice the vibration of it until the vibration of your desire supersedes the vibration of doubt. And when the vibration of your desire supersedes your vibration of doubt, bam, it happens. And then you say, where have you been? You say, I knew you were coming. I could feel you. At first, I just felt hopeful that you'd be there. But eventually, I started really trusting that you'd be there. And then, not very long ago, I knew you'd be there, and there you are. But the things you want can't come until you achieve that knowing. And that knowing doesn't come easily because you've been practicing not knowing. You're often not willing to admit how you feel because you're worried about what somebody else might say about how you feel. So you really have to get to the place where you don't talk so much to people who don't understand. And you talk to those who do understand. Or you just keep your own counsel. Jerry wrote a paper years ago that said, keep your ideas to yourself until they are fully developed, because he saw so many people that he was counseling in business who he would see become on fire with an idea. But it was a new idea to them. And they hadn't practiced it long enough that it was dominant within them. It was tentative within them. And he knew that it could go either way, and then they'd go home. And they'd talk to somebody about their new idea before it was really shored up within them. And that person and their doubt and their negative commentary would activate that old vibration within this person. And then it was all over because the seed had not been allowed to germinate and get enough of a foothold that it was strong on its own. There's no reason for you to experience anything less than what you want. And if you have the ability to imagine it, this universe has the ability to give it to you. Knowing it, knowing that you want it, asking for it. is step 1 and step 2, because you've asked and the universe is given. Now you just have to get out of the way. One more thing we want to say to you. We think that when you say you want it but you don't want to work for it, we think that's where your cross purpose is, because you don't like doing the things that you think you're going to have to do in order to get it, but you don't believe you can get it otherwise. So that's where the contradiction is. So what you're literally saying to the universe is, do this impossible thing. So what you have to do is find some way of making it not feel impossible. So do a little research. Notice how many people find that. Notice how many different ways there are for money to come. In other words, give yourself some reason to believe that it is possible for you to receive.